Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. I'm Bobby and this is Francisco, and we are up again. I think Francisco just got up, or Lalo, you just got up. You sound sleepy.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's okay. I'm always sleepy in the mornings anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I got up at 5 because I had to drain my hot tub, and my hot tub drains down, it goes down the street, and then it pools in front of my neighbor's house. So I'd like to drain it before he gets up, and then that way he thinks a sprinkler got burst or something.
Yeah.
Is that an asshole thing to do?
I mean, it just sounds like bad, um, like
Being a
shoddy
bad neighbor?
construction work.
Uh,
I mean, if
whatever.
it pulls in front of his house, and
Well, if it pooled in front of my house, it was his, I wouldn't care. I just step over the puddle. I know it's going to soak in, so whatever.
yeah, a lot of people don't like. There's a lot of things like that, um, like bug people.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, when people park in front of like your house and stuff.
Hmm.
Like, I know some people that hate that. They're like, you can't park here. Like, I'm parking in front of my house, but it's like you don't own the sidewalk, you know.
Yeah, but this water, he backs his truck in up next to the garage, and it's a really long truck. It's like one of those full size trucks, and it sticks out a little bit. So then the water pools right under the doors.
Oh, okay.
So you kind of have to wade through 6 inches of fucking spa water to get to your truck. I don't. I Like I said, I would just get in the other side and not worry about it. But that's just me. I don't. I try not to sweat shit anymore, dude. You know, life's too fucking complicated, and everybody's pissed off about something now. So
Yeah, at least if you're gonna be mad, at least be mad about something that's worth your while.
yeah, yeah. I was reading last night about uh, some news story about how everyone is so divided and everything is so polarized that we're not really paying attention to things that matter. It's like we're worried about, did we, how are we going to arrange our pronouns so everybody doesn't get their feelings hurt? Meanwhile, big business, who we should be fucking livid with of what they're doing to us, they don't seem to be they don't seem to be privy to the pressure that we put on each other. It's like we're not pressuring the companies; we're pressuring each other. He's a they. Don't call him a him. He's a they. And meanwhile, we're getting robbed like completely. So if you're going to be mad, stop being mad about your pronouns and get pissed off because you're getting taxed to death and you're getting robbed.
See, for me, that's kind of um, like there's one side that like those two things happen, you know, that you just mentioned,
Yeah.
and then one side like cares about both of them, and then the other side um doesn't. Or like I feel like the left kind of like the left is the one that's, you know, pro union and like anti, like, you know, pro, you know, higher taxes for big businesses and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
um and they're also like, you know, about social issues and, you know, gay rights, trans rights. And to me the right is just like the right is more hyper focused on the social issues, um but in a way that's not like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like
That's
they
that's
don't
what I'm talking
care
about.
about. So I think to me it's more the right that's upset over like anything, or like dumb stuff, you know. It's the right that's like, if you ask a conservative, like, oh, you know, if you bring up like pronouns and stuff to a conservative, they're like, oh, I don't have pronouns, and it's like, you're dumbass, like everybody has pronouns, you know.
Everybody has pronouns, unless you're Herschel Walker, who doesn't know what pronouns are,
Right.
which
So I
he
think a lot of
totally
people on the
admitted.
right like are just um like they don't really know what the issues are. They're just they're angry at like things that don't make sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Now,
And see, I don't
listen,
think saying like, oh, you know, you shouldn't be worried about, you know, people calling you the right pronouns, you should be worried about this, because I think you could do both at the same time. And I think they're both important, and they're both, because I mean, it's kind of, it's easy to dismiss something that like never really affects you, you know.
right?
um and I mean, it's hard to, you know, for a lot of people it's hard to like care about, um or for a lot of people those like social issues affect them a lot more, like on a personal level, than, you know, big business, you know, getting taxed and stuff like that. um so
Well,
I wouldn't like, I don't like dismiss those issues as like, oh, you know, you guys are mad at the wrong stuff,
I don't.
because I
You
think they're
know,
important as well.
I'm with Rogan. I'm with Joe Rogan. I will call you whatever you want to be called, but get out of my face. Don't just stop the madness that's going on. Like,
Because I mean, imagine if you, like, your entire life, or maybe not your entire life, but most of your life, let's say since you were like 15, um, just imagine if every single time anybody ever referred to you, they referred to you like as a woman, or like she. Like, I just feel like that would just annoy the shit out of you, and you would hate it.
I don't know. I can't put myself in that spot. I can't.
You know, and
I
that's
can't
part
be
of the.
black. I can't be Mexican. I can't be Filipino. And on the other hand, a Filipino person can't be in my shoes where I got crushed, and every time I step down on my left foot, it fucking hurts, and it has hurt for 22 years. So you can't put yourself in another person's pain.
Yeah, and I think those like those issues that kind of deal with like self identity. And I mean, there's several, you know, there's, you know, sexuality, race, gender, like all these things.
Right.
I think those are some of the harder issues to um, address, just because, like you said, it's very hard for people to be, you know, to put yourself in that position. You know,
Yeah.
I would say it's a lot easier to be like, oh yeah, you know, if I had all this money, or, you know, if I was poor, I would do this, or if I had money, I would do that. Like, that's easier to kind of imagine for a lot of people than,
Yeah.
you know, oh, imagine if you were gay. Like, how would you feel?
Well, I don't think money has anything to do with identity.
Right. So I think that's why those issues are easier to kind of address. Like, there's a simpler solution to like our economical issues, um, than our like social issues, because our social issues, you know, deal more with, you know, the human to human interaction, and I
I,
think those are complex interactions that, you know, aren't easy to solve.
yeah. The main problem I have with it is, don't tell me how to think. I will do. If it's 55 miles an hour and I'm driving 55 and I want to drive 75, you can't tell me not to think I want to drive 75. If I don't think your issue is all that important, but I'm respectful enough to you to say, all right, if you want to be called her or him, and it doesn't matter to me. Just tell me once, and I'll, if I fuck up, tell me. But if I don't
Do you
agree
feel
with
like
it,
it's not that way?
you no, I don't. I feel like you need to. It feels like you need to accept me, and I don't accept a lot of people into my life because I don't want them in my life. I don't need the turmoil. So,
But what does that mean? Accept you?
like, you know what? I accept is the only word I can think of. I don't I don't care. It's like if I don't accept you, it doesn't mean I'm rejecting you. It's like that thing that say the opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. I'm indifferent to the whole fucking thing. If you want to be called she and you have a penis, I don't give a fuck. You're a she to me. There you go. But I don't care. I'm just indifferent to, and that makes me that somehow makes me an evil person because I'm not, you know, accepting of it. It's just like I don't reject it. It's like, okay, whatever you want, I don't care. I think that those issues are, about those are personal issues, and we have societal issues which are much more pressing to me with you know
Well, I think those could be considered societal issues as well. I mean, how we like view each other and like treat each other. Those kind of things like ripple into
yeah, i
like
i
societal
i agree,
issues.
and that's where I say I'm indifferent. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to be your. If you come into my circle and you don't want to be called whatever, that's fine. I all right. But
And I don't think people's like issue is with like that. Like, because I mean, th- there's a lot of people that are, um, like you said, like, oh, I'm she.
mhm,
And then there's a ton of people that are like, okay, that's fine. Like, it's
yeah.
not like a big deal to me. Um, I don't think their issue is with those people. I think the issue is with people that are like, no, you're not. Like, you're a fucking man. Like, that's who the issue is.
But how often does that come up in their lives?
Well, I mean, depending where you are, it could be a lot.
Okay, I'll give you that. But here's how I really feel. Well, when I go to Albertsons, there are several trans people there. They males with makeup, long hair, dressed as females. I don't care. I think it's brave, as a matter of fact. And I really like. I'm really kind to them. I'm really friendly to them because I know they have a bad time. I know that they probably have a lot of self esteem issues that they need. I think we all need to be accepted to a certain point, but I think people like that are pushing the norms, and it forces them to the margin, and not of their own accord. It's just what they are. So I feel really like empathetic towards them, but I I don't have this concern that if this guy or girl or them or they is not accepted in the way they want to be accepted, that my gas prices are going to go down, or my economics are going to change, or society's going to change in any major way.
But what is? Let me ask you this: what is that? You said that you're not worried about them being accepted in the way they want to be. What would
I'm
that
not accepted
acceptance
in the way
be?
I want to be accepted, Lalo.
But which is what?
I'm an artist, but I can't be an artist because it doesn't make me money. So I have to say, oh, I'm a mental health worker, or I want to make movies, and I want to draw, and I want to be a philosopher, and I want to be on the fringes, but I can't do that because it doesn't help me participate in society. So I cannot marginalize myself by claiming to be what I truly feel like I am.
But see, those two things are. I think those are very different things because all those things are things that you do and things that shape your like personality and lifestyle and stuff like that.
Hmm.
While on the other hand, I think the other thing is things that you are. You know, like if you were to pick up a guitar and learn guitar and
Hmm.
write a song and record it, you'd be like, oh, like I'm a guitar player, and people are gonna be like, oh yeah, you play guitar. I heard your song. No one's ever gonna doubt you. No one's gonna be like, you don't know how to play guitar, and you're like, look, I have the guitar right here and I'm playing it. They're like, no,
Right.
you don't know how to play it. And I think that that's a better comparison of like what's actually going on,
Well, if
because it's like things that are like presenting and they're like in front of you, and then they're still being like rejected.
well, I just don't. I don't. The only way I see it happening is in the media. I've never in my life anywhere, and I've lived in. There's trans people in the small town where I'm from. I've never seen anybody get beat up or, I've heard them talk behind their back, and I know
Yeah, but I mean,
people
you
talk
know
behind
that it
my back
happens all the
though.
time.
People, yeah, I know it happens all the time, and the news media picks it up and amplifies it. But how often is it really happening to the point where,
I mean, I would say um, over 80% of like gay and trans people have been bullied at some point in their life for being
well,
gay and trans.
uh, I'm going to say over 80% of really, really skinny people have been bullied. I'm going to say over 80% of black people have been bullied. So we're looking at it. This isn't just the trans issue. This is a societal issue, like you said.
Yeah, it's the issue
But
is
it's not.
acceptance.
It's not. It just feels like it's not what it is. Does that make any sense? Like it's being presented to me in this way that's not how it actually is because it's been going on forever. It's been a part of our culture forever to reject people and things that are different.
Well, I mean, I agree with that part, but I don't think that should make it okay. Because to me, that just sounds like, oh, that's how it's always been. So,
Well,
you know,
I'm not defending it. Like I said, we all just need to fucking calm down. I've been saying that to you for 2 years. We all just need to calm down and come to the point where do what you want to do. And if you're not hurting me and you're not hurting others, that's fine. Dress however you want to dress, do whatever you want to do, be whatever you are. But the point I was trying to make here is we are so distracted by each other down at this level that the next levels up are just doing whatever the fuck they want to do, taking what they want to take, living how they want to live. And I don't think that they're laughing at us, but I think that they know what they're doing.
yeah. And I mean, to me, it's not like, I would say my point is that to me, I just don't like, they're two very different issues, like completely different, like categories of issues, social issues versus like um, economic issues. Um, like to me, they don't really, um, we shouldn't compare them just because to me they're not related at all. So I don't like to be like, oh, we're focused on the wrong thing. Like we shouldn't be like, we shouldn't care about this. This is what we should focus on.
Right.
Because I think we could do both at the same time, and I think
I
we are
agree.
doing both at
But
the
we're
same
only
time.
doing one down here at our level. We're only really doing one. And only a very
I
small
mean, I
percentage of
would say we're
people,
doing both
but
because I
only a
mean
small
it's
percentage of people are doing both. The rest of us are just hating on each other.
well, I think it's mostly one side that's hating because again, it's one side that's asking for like acceptance and like equality and like equal rights, and the other side's just like no.
No.
So I mean, the same stuff happened, back in the 60s.
Uh huh.
Like we had the same economical issues back in the 60s. Maybe not as bad as they are right now, but you know, you still had, capitalism raging on in the 60s and the 50s and the 70s.
Yeah, in
But
the 70s,
that,
it was bad. In the 70s, it was bad when gay rights were coming alive. I was alive then, and it was bad.
so I mean, I'm I'm in the mindset that we can address both. Cuz I mean, imagine if you were like back in the 60s and you're told like I'm okay, like don't worry about like who cares if you're black. Like I don't care if you're black. I'll treat you the same. But that doesn't mean everybody will, you know?
Right.
So I think that kind of um like micro view on social issues um doesn't really account for like if you zoom out, you know, like to the macro level. um it's not the same. Like, oh, just because I'm not racist, like I don't care, like I'll treat you the same. That doesn't mean society will. That doesn't mean most of the country will. You know,
Where does the responsibility stop?
what do
I
you mean?
mean, am I responsible for my neighbor treating my other neighbor well? Or if I treat my the neighbor well and ignore the one who's an asshole, there's all kinds of ways we can look at this. Where does my
Well, let me ask you. Let me
responsibility
ask you
stop?
this: if you're at your house and you hear your neighbor like beating up his wife, do you care?
I care. Yeah.
To what point do you care? Are you gonna call the
I,
cops?
I'm gonna have to call the police if it gets to a point where it becomes public.
So, um, you know, you're willing to like get involved to some degree. You know, you're willing to at least, at the very least, like call it out if you
Right.
see it. You
Right.
know, you're outside watering your grass or draining your hot tub, and you see your neighbor like you know like pushing his wife and like getting up in her face. You're probably be like, "Hey man, calm down," or like, "Hey," or if he's like wailing on her, you're gonna at least like try to break it up.
In this climate that I live in, I will tell you this. I will call the police, but I will not step in.
Right, but that's you getting involved.
Yeah, I will.
You're
I will
injecting yourself
totally
in the
pull my
situation.
phone out and say, "There's a man beating up his wife or his partner right in this apartment complex." But I
Right.
will not step in because that's how I get shot.
So I mean, I would say it's the same thing. Like, um, for like social issues, if you see like if you're out eating at a restaurant and you see like you know somebody like using n bombs like left and right to you know they're like fighting with a black customer or black you know person. um I mean, both. I don't know if it's most, but a lot of people just wouldn't like do anything, you know,
Yeah.
or they're just like record or like just watch. But I know there are also a lot of people that would, say something
In
or
that situation,
interject themselves.
I would talk to the black person and I would say, "Do you want some help?"
Right. And you're still, interjecting yourself.
Right.
So you asked me like, to what degree should I, be responsible, or to what degree should I care? And in those examples, I think it doesn't really take much for people to feel like they need to say something.
Yeah.
So I would say it's very much of the same. And like because I think like civil rights issues, um they've become very like um like normalized,
Yeah.
like I would say um most people in this country don't like bat an eye when they go to school and they see a black person. Go back 70 years, that's not the case at all.
No, not at all.
So I think that just really shows like how much we've progressed. Don't get me wrong, there's still a ton of racist people, and I would say most people have some sort of like prejudice.
Yeah.
um, I wouldn't say that makes them racist, but I would say that's just that's like deep rooted prejudice. That's generations deep. It's very hard to get rid of. Um,
Right.
I do
When
think
you
it
have a
will be
trigger,
gone
you have a
eventually.
trigger. There,
Right.
you can't. That's not your fault.
Right. So I think that's kind of what we're like working towards when it comes to like the I would say newer social issues like gay rights, trans rights. Um because I mean, I remember reading the survey of like um it was done a few years ago of like um, the amount of people that were opposed to like interracial marriage, and I think it was like I think they used to ask it on the they had like this big survey that they would ask that question on. It was
Yeah.
like part of a larger survey, and they had to drop the question because like so few people actually marked yes, like that the statistical like um, results were like they didn't matter, and that was like a few years ago. Like so
Yeah.
little people actually cared like or were against like interracial marriage. But like I said, if you go back, 70, 80 years, like it'd probably be more than half, a lot more than half.
Yeah. If you, I think the problem I have with statistics is they never tell me where they ask these questions, because if you ask that question in LA, you're going to get a statistical nothing. Of course I don't. Whatever, I see it every day. It doesn't harm me. If you ask that question in, I don't know, Birmingham, we're going to have a different story. If you ask it in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, how do you feel about interracial marriage, you're going to get a whole different ball game down there. So
Yeah.
statistics are, I took statistics in college, and the only thing that I really learned from it is the instructor said statistics can be skewed any way you want.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, like it like in general, like
in general, yeah,
it's
but you
been
still,
very
I'm
like
just
we've
talking
been
about
very
those
progressive.
pockets.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say it's very I mean, they call them like socio-economical issues for a reason,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
they involve it's all to me it's very intertwined. Because like I say, they kind of ripple. You know, there's people that have been discriminated because of the race, gender, like sexuality, stuff like that. So I think the acceptance of those like minorities only improves like at the end of the day it also helps improve like the economical issues that we face.
Yeah, I see your point. I just think that
I just think like
I
at
don't
the
think everybody can do both. I don't think everybody can care about both. I care more about socioeconomic status and the world war that's getting ready to happen, and the politics of modern times and global economics, and I care about that. And it's not that I marginalize the other, but I just don't give a shit about it. It's like, okay, you do whatever you want, and I'll accept you, but I'm not going to go march in the street for you. I'm going to worry about this over here. And I totally accept that someone can say, you know what? I'm not so worried about the global politics and the world war. I'm more worried about Jimmy over here who's getting beat up because he's a trans kid. So I'm going to go over here. And that's perfectly cool. Go wave your sign. I'm going to go wave my sign over here. It's just, I don't think you can spread yourself out to a point where you care about everything all the time.
well I would say it's not so much like I mean to me personally I don't think it takes much to just to me it's all the same like you just care about um like issues that um make things unfair for people.
Right.
Like they both fall under that umbrella of like equality,
Yeah.
whether it's like social equality or economical equality. Like that's it's all under the big equality umbrella.
The equality
No,
umbrella. The
so it's
umbrella
not.
corporation. Damn it. Now here we go again.
So it's not. I mean, I would say it's not like um, very difficult to kind of just be like, oh yeah, like I care or like I support, you know, so and so.
Right.
Um, to me, I think my like thing is that when you kind of pit these two things against each other, it makes them, I think it puts people in a position to like want to choose, like, oh, we should, this is the real issue. Like we should care about this. Um, I think that's like, you're like comparing, and I mean, you're like comparing issues, and I mean, I understand that, um, like different issues have different levels of value to people.
Right.
Because I mean, even for me, like that's the case, there's certain issues that I care more about than others. Um, but I don't like compare them because to me they're not comparable. They're not taking away from each other, if that makes sense. It's like when people, like the right does that a lot, where they're like, oh look at, we just sent 10 billion to Ukraine. We could have used that money here to like, you know, put it towards our like homeless vets or whatever.
Right.
And it's like those two things aren't, like, we could still do the other thing. We could still help our homeless vets. It's not like that money came directly from like the VA and we sent it over to Ukraine. you know Politicians are able to do both. um, they're just choosing not to.
I I see what you're saying, but I
And I mean,
look at
I'm
it.
it's to me it's fine. Like, to me it's fine that you have priorities when it comes to issues, because like I said, everybody does.
Yeah.
um,
As long as you're not being cruel to the issue that it's not as important to you.
right. um, so I just think it's like, I just don't like compare and contrast them, like I said, because to me they're just like, that's just, uh, I think that's more divisive than anything, because you're um like, this is what I really care about, this is a real issue, instead of your pronouns or whatever. So I think it's just like, I
Is
would
it
just talk
comparing and
about.
contrasting though? I mean, what I'm talking about. I know what's going on in the media. Yes, it is. But what I'm really talking about here is like, okay, I've got 10 jobs that I have to do today. And I literally do. I got to work out. I got to clean the garage. I got to drain the hot tub. I got to cook for the week. My laundry needs done. So if I just let all that happen to me at once, I get overwhelmed. And that's what people are. They're fucking overwhelmed with so many fucking problems. And I take all the things that I have to do today and I go, okay, I need to put these in order so I can get them all done. What's more important, and that's what I tackle first. And what's more important to me is economic issues and political issues. But at the same time, all these things are woven in together. No matter what you say, if you say homeless vet, you're also talking about drug addiction and mental health issues and homelessness. If you say trans people, you're talking about suicide and drug addiction. And all these things are intertwined together. And I think the thing that holds them all together is poverty. So if we can sort poverty out, if we can take that out of the fucking equation, then the poor person who is hating their life and projecting that hate onto something else, suddenly they don't hate their life, and maybe that other thing won't be so, you know it won't be so hateful to them if they're a little bit more, I can pay my rent. And I'm not saying comfortable. I'm not saying everybody needs a fucking Bentley, but I'm saying everybody needs to be able to pay their rent and have a place to live. So those things are more important to me. And I see the trans rights and I see the homeless issues and I see the kids without parents and I see it all. But it becomes fucking overwhelming to me, and I'm like, what is the main thing that's driving all of this? Poverty and
Well,
education.
I would say poverty is a big, like, root cause for like most issues.
Yeah.
But I also think that if we were to solve poverty, there would still be, prejudice. There would still be hate, towards like minorities.
Well, if you
Um,
solved anything, Lalo, there's still going to be people who hate. There's still going to be people. You can't stop it all. But
right. So that just, it kind of goes to show you that there's like, it's like a multiple, like equality is a multiple like front war. You know,
Yeah,
there's like the social side, and then
perfect way to look at it.
there's
The
the
guy driving the tank is not the guy carrying the 50 cal. It's a
right. So
war. So let's go to war together against the
right,
establishment.
but just like it's a two front war, you have to have people at both fronts. You know,
Right. Right. And
and I
I'm
think
just not on that one front you're talking about. I'm on the other one.
right, like your analogy of your like your house and all the chores that you have to do. Um, because I think the United States is so like vast and like rich, to be honest, that it could, if it wanted to, they could solve most of its problems like in a fairly short amount of time.
I think so too. I
Um,
think so too, but I don't
so
think
I
anybody
think,
would like it.
well, I think most people would like it. They just, and it sounds very like pretentious, but I think they just don't know that they would like it. You know.
Well, yeah, I,
Um,
like
so I w-
I know
like,
people who they're taking $20,000 off the top of my loans. And I know there are people out there who I've talked to who hate it. They're like, you don't deserve that. So I'm thinking if you start solving problems, if you start putting people in houses, you're going to have at least 30 to 40 fucking percent of the United States say, you know what? This isn't right. These people don't deserve it. But then again, you're right because when you take the homeless people off the street and put them in housing or put them in mental health and take care of them, then our streets are going to be better. And then everybody's going to go, oh,
yeah,
that's what you
like crime
did.
goes
Oh,
down.
okay. I get that. Well, I want that. But they think that suddenly you can take homeless people and just put them to work. And that's not how it works.
Yeah. So I mean, like, um, I would say a better, because the United States is like, there's like we have so many people and so much money that I think like a better analogy of your house thing would be like, you know, you have all this shit you got to do, but and it has to get done, you know. But
Yeah.
instead of it being just you, like it's your whole family, you know. So, you know, you have to mow your lawn and you have to clean the inside of your house and you have to, you know, fix your car and do all these things. And, you know, like you said, different people have different priorities, you know.
Hmm.
Maybe your like kids' friends are coming over for dinner. So your daughter's like busy like cleaning the inside. You know, and you know, it's Saturday and you got to get to work by Monday. So you're going to be focused on fixing your car.
Right.
So like all these things, you know, if you ask your daughter like, "Oh, do you want to help me fix the car? Or you want to clean the living room?" What's she going to say? "Oh, my friends are coming over, so I got to clean the living room."
Right.
Um that doesn't make like, different people have different priorities, but like you said, it all has to get done. So, um when we have so many people and like so much money, I do think we're able to like spread ourselves to the point where we can, you know, try to solve all these issues like at the same time.
Yeah. I get it.
Because we're not limited in um like what we can do. I mean, we are, but like the United States as a whole, like I said, we can do a lot of things all at the same time. And I
It
don't think
just
we should just like all focus on one thing and fix that and then all move on to the next thing and fix that.
right. No,
um
that's you can't because everything's intertwined. When you start
right.
taking something apart like that, you, all of a sudden you're going to be ensconced in a bunch of different things. And like you said, then you need to start pulling people in who are experts and are more interested in one thing and another. But it seems like in the United States, if you take your analogy, and my daughter's cleaning the living room and I'm working on the car because we all need to get this something done towards the common goal of being successful. And she says, she walks by and I say, "Can you hand me that wrench?" And she goes, "No, fuck you. I'm not helping you." That's what it feels like. I'm not helping you. I got other things to do. And I'm not like that at all. Like I said, I will call the cops or I will comfort someone who's being hurt. I'll do all those things. I just don't go out of my way and waste a lot of, not waste, but expend a lot of energy thinking about trans rights. I don't. It's just me. I'm
I
not
mean, and
against trans people. I
that's
just don't
normal.
think about it too much.
Yeah, and I mean that's normal because it's not like a personal issue. It doesn't really affect you like on a personal level.
Right.
And I think most people kind of they tend to care more about things that affect them on a personal level,
Oh,
which is
definitely.
100% like normal to me. Like I
Yeah.
understand that 100%.
That's okay.
Um, but that doesn't mean we can't um, like support another issue.
Right.
Um, so I think it's better to like say and like, oh, we got to fix this and that. We got to address this and that. Um, Instead of like, oh, we should focus on this more because it's more important, or
Yeah.
it's a bigger issue.
It's just more important to me.
And I mean, if you're like at a if you're like at a pride rally, like no one's really going to be talking about like you know the evils of capitalism as much as like civil rights.
Right. Which is
So
why
it
I don't
kind of
go to
just
pride rallies.
so it kind of just depends on like the setting. um
A pride rally to me is more of a spectacle than it is a movement.
well,
That's
to me it's very like it's one of those things that's like it's like a march.
yeah,
um so it, it's kind of like that thing. I think a lot of our social issues can be helped like alleviated with exposure. So I think pride rallies like that kind of you know help with that exposure. Pride rallies, a lot of like sporting venues have like Pride Day.
yeah.
Um, and don't get me wrong, like people hate the fuck out of that. Some like a lot of people hate it. Like Dodger Stadium has like their like Pride Night, and you go to the comments and people just shit on them.
Of
But
course.
um, there's also a lot of people that like that's the only Dodger game they go to all year, and they don't even like baseball.
When they don't
They're
even
just
like
going.
baseball.
They're
Right.
just going because it's like the Pride Night, um, and I think that helps with um, like the exposure. Because like if you're like let's say you hate it and you go to that game and you get to the stadium and you're surrounded by a bunch of people and they're all like wearing like rainbow hats and all that stuff. Like, are the players not going to play baseball? Like, is the baseball game not going to happen? Are they not going to sell you beer? Are you going to get kicked out of your seat? Like, none of the things that make a baseball game a baseball game. Are people not going to cheer when they hit a home run?
Right.
Like, the
Right.
experience, like the core experience, doesn't change because of the people that are there. Just like they have like Mexican like heritage like Mexican Heritage Night. Like people don't bat an eye at that.
Right. Well, some
Um,
people do. They just don't say.
right. But like most people don't bat an eye at that.
Right.
Like they don't care about that. They'll still go to the game and they'll still watch it and drink beer and all the same stuff that they do at a regular game.
It just fucking amazes me, dude, that the tiny, tiny tweaks that you have to make to yourself, and I speak from experience, the tiny tweaks that you make to yourself make all the difference to who you are. It's uh, there was a time in my life, if you would have said we're going to a pride rally, I'd say you can shit and fall back in it too because I'm not going. So, and then you begin to see, like you said, I moved out of West Virginia. I moved into more of a mainstream, proactive culture, and I began to be exposed to pride rallies and gay people and trans people and black people, and I began to see the world as a different place. So I tweaked myself so I can now go to a baseball game and there could be everybody in the stadium is gay. I'm watching baseball. I don't give a fuck what's going on around me. I support I support gay pride, gay rights, trans rights, all that stuff. It just I'm to the point where it's like I accept it, so I've done what I need to do, and I talk to people like my family and people that I know who are against it, and I'm talk to them just like you talk to people. Like, what's wrong with it? Tell me tell me the core thing that you think is wrong with trans people, and they can't do it. It's just this tiny little thing they have to decide, okay, that's fine. That's all they have to do, and they can't do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's very like that exposure kind of, it really goes to show people that their life like won't change, you know? Like
Right,
their personal life won't change like at all in most cases, you know?
right.
Um like you're not gonna have to, no one's asking you to like, oh, it's Pride Night, so I have to go like make out with the dude. Like
Yeah.
no one's saying that, you know?
Every time second base is stolen, you got to kiss a dude. Damn
Yeah.
it, I'm not going, bro.
Right. So it's like, and that's, I mean, people react like if that's the type of shit that's happening to them, you know?
I
You
know.
know, or they say stuff like, you know, oh, I don't care, like I don't care about gay people, like they just, as long as they like don't hit on me or stay away from me. And it's
Oh,
like gay people don't like a gay dude's like main goal in life is not to like, you know, make out with straight guys. You know? Like that's not really on their radar of things to do. Like they're just uh, like, do you think gay people walk around and be like, oh, this fucking straight girl better not try to
she
hit
better
on
not hit
me?
on me. Put your titties away. I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
That's
So
not
it's like,
happening. I know. It's I know. I know. It's just these things that we say, these global things that my friends and family have said, like, what's wrong with this country is homosexuals. And it's like, can you clarify that somehow? Can you break that down for me? But they can't. It's just that's what they feel. That's how they that's how they react to homosexuality. And I know they can't help it, but and it doesn't even have anything to do with going to universities or college or even school. It just has to do with this moral ethical thing. It's like, can you just accept what's different from you when it doesn't affect you at all? And they can't do it. They can't. I did. I don't know how I did it. I guess because you pulled me out of Appalachia and threw me down in South Tucson, but I really had no choice.
yeah, I mean, um, it's one of those things where for a lot of people, it's like a very new concept to grasp.
Yeah.
Um, Also because I think, like in the current day, social issues are a lot more like in your face.
Yes.
Um, but
Which was
like,
my main complaint at the beginning of
but
the
see, I
podcast.
don't mean it like in your face, like in a bad way. I mean like they're more, um, uh, I don't know, like I don't know if accessible is the right word, but like back in the '60s when they were doing all like the marches and the um, rallies for like civil rights, like a lot of that was in the South, you know.
Hmm.
So someone living in like Oregon or like, you know, California,
Right.
like you would hear about it like on the radio or like on the news and stuff like that, you know. But I think now with like the internet and social media, it's like you could see it like if you're there almost, you know. People are like live stream it, you know. There's
Yeah.
so many videos and pictures, and like it's almost as if you were there yourself. So I think that's a big difference. Like social issues are more like everywhere, you know.
Yeah. When you're thinking, you think about 200 years ago when something happened in Seattle, or Seattle wasn't even there. Something happened in Washington D.C. Some guy got on a horse and rode, rode 50 miles, and it took 3 weeks for the message to get to the West. So And now information is disseminated almost immediately. It's like if somebody gets shot, somebody's there, and it's tweeted, picked up by the AP, and on fucking CNN.com within minutes.
Yeah,
So we can't escape it. I think I have escaped. I guess you can ignore the news still. A lot of people do.
it's hard though. That's for
You can
sure.
get overwhelmed by it.
Yeah,
I think that's a lot of people's problem, that they're just overwhelmed. They don't know what to care about. And I guess when you're overwhelmed, you psychologically approach things differently, and that's why people reject things. Maybe, there's so much going on, and so much violence, and so much poverty, and so many fucking earthquakes, and here comes a hurricane, and oh my god, Ukraine's being bombed, and all this shit is happening. So they have to start picking and choosing, and because they're overwhelmed, maybe they're overreacting to certain things like trans rights and gay rights and things like that, because they prioritize things differently. It may not be their fault, and we just need to talk to them. How long have I been saying that, dude? We just need to fucking talk to each other.
yeah, and I mean, to me, I mean, the way at least I try to to help me not feel so overwhelmed a lot of the times is to me there's big there's the big overarching issues, and then there's just different ways that they're presented, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, poverty and capitalism, they present, those are the big um the big umbrella of issues, you know.
Hmm.
And then so when you hear oh, um I oh no, don't call the ambulance because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
That's that's a healthcare issue, but what's the issue? Oh, you can't
Poverty.
afford it because you don't have money,
Yeah.
or because healthcare is run like fucking shit, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And intertwined. Everything's intertwined, like we said.
right. So I just to me, they're, I try to group them as these big issues, and then they're just I'll just categorize them, you know? If I see an issue on the news or I read an article or something, and oh, whatever the story is, I'll be oh, that's because of
Yeah.
poverty, or oh, that's because of, you know, racist people,
Racist people.
you know. Because I
Did you
mean, if
see?
you kind of just take everything one as a singular issue, yeah, you're gonna get overwhelmed. You'll think there's fucking, you know, there's an infinite amount of issues every single day.
Yeah.
But if you kind of just think about it as these smaller issues that are caused by these big things, I think it's easier to kind of one, it's easier to see through them and see the root cause of them, you know, the ambulance thing. The root cause of that is poverty, um and the way our healthcare is run.
Right.
um so it's not oh, just this one person can't afford the ambulance. um because you would be oh yeah, I feel kind of bad for them. But when you see it in the other way, it's um oh yeah, I feel bad for them, um and this is what we could do to solve that, or this is what's causing that. So whenever you're more informed, if that makes sense, because you know what the root causes are.
Hmm.
So you're able to um when you see proposals, or um people that bring up solutions for certain issues, because you know what the root cause of them are, you can see what does actually help, that issue.
Right.
And I think by seeing things that way and kind of thinking that way, you're really able to make the best choices when it comes to things like voting and stuff like that, um to gear towards solving those big overarching issues that people have, or that we have.
Which brings us back to uh, what seems to be a thread that runs through the 50 some podcasts we've done. It's about critical thinking. If you cannot critically think, if you are stuck, then you have a problem, because all you the last few minutes you just explained how to break it down, and I'll answer that with, well, what's wrong with this country is homosexuals, because that's the answer that you get. These simplified, what's wrong with this country is homeless people just need to get a job. We all just need to get jobs. It, that's simplified thinking. It's not critical thinking, because as soon as you attack those, and I hate that word attack, but as soon as you engage a person who says what's wrong with this country is homosexuals, and as soon as you say, well, let's break that down, then it reverts back to they can't break it down. That's just how they feel, and they don't have the critical thinking skills to break it down, to accept it, to start voting, to do the things that they need to do. They're just stuck in this place, in this bubble, where the only thing that's wrong with the country is these simplified things. And
Yeah.
then that's why MAGA is born. That's why
Yeah.
Trump is where he
Mhm.
is, because he simplified everything for the people who do not think critically.
Yeah. And I mean, to kind of to like round it up here, uh, like the way I see a lot of these issues here, and the way I help myself like um kind of like put myself in other people's shoes, because like you said, it's very hard when it's like something that's very drastic. Like, it's hard for me to picture like what being gay is like,
Right,
in society. But the way I see it, or the way I try to think of it, to help me um like sympathize and empathize with other people is all these like economical issues that we face, like we all deal with those. Like, you know 80% of Americans deal with like um not having enough money, or having to choose between certain things
right,
because you can't afford it. um like everybody deals with that, right? And then on top of that, there's people that have to deal with all that, and they have to deal with all the all the negative things that come with um like being a black person in the United States.
right,
So I have to deal with poverty and racism, or I have to deal with sorry, I have to deal with poverty and you know being discriminated because I'm gay or trans. So like it's like it's like a double whammy.
yeah.
You get like two ends of the short stick. Um,
Don't a lot of people though? I mean, seriously, like dealing with the issues of, I can't pay my rent and my husband beats me, or I can't pay my rent and my neighbor's an asshole, and it's just these things that
right, but those aren't
my husband
like
beats me is
that's not
that's
like
a good issue.
that's not like a minority issue. Like uh, victims of like domestic violence isn't considered like a it's not like a class. Like it's an issue,
Right?
but it's not like
Ah, I see what you mean.
you know it's not like only certain people deal with that. You could be poor, black, and your husband beats your ass. you know so it's like one of those things where um like it's not a certain category, it's not like only certain people suffer from domestic violence.
And what if you're gay in
I mean,
that
I know it's
too?
it's I know it's mostly like women, but um yeah, so it's like it's not class. I think that's like the best word I could think of it.
I'm poor, I'm black, I'm gay, and my husband beats my ass.
Yeah,
Damn.
so I think that's what I do to kind of help myself like see, at least, try to see like, okay, this is why. these issues are also like very important, especially to them, you know,
Yeah.
because it's not, they deal with the repercussions of like poverty day to day, but they also deal with the repercussions of like, you know, being hated on because of the way you look or the way you act day to day. And one of them for them, one of those might be like a lot more prevalent, you know,
Yeah.
they still go to work and like, barely pay their rent, and that sucks. But, you know, every day at work, they're like harassed. So I think that's kind of more like front and center to them because they have to deal with that like daily,
Yeah.
you know?
I get it. I don't get it, but I do. I mean, I see.
I just think it's important to say like to not be I think that like way too I think I don't know, talk about it like the whole like, we're too busy focused on this that, we're too busy focused on, what pronouns you want than, how to, get rid of capitalism or whatever. Like I think that um like just that way of addressing it, uh at least in my eyes, it kind of like pits them against each other in a way that's like not beneficial to either side. Because I mean, if you tell that to like somebody that's like gay or trans, like it's almost like you're dismissing like their issues, And
Yeah.
I know you're not, but you can see like how that would seem that way.
Yeah. I totally get it. And the thing that I just I'm not just stop being so sensitive. I'm not against you. I'm just not in the corner shaking the sign with you. I'm not against you. I'm not. I'll come to your rescue. I'll help you out. I'll do whatever I need to do. But it's not something I'm going to go out of my way and go to a pride rally or trans rally. I'm not going to do it. I
Well, I don't
have
think people are like,
other issues.
have you felt like pressured to go to a pride rally like
No,
ever?
not at all.
Right. So it's not like something that's like people are like telling you like you need to do, to like show you like, oh, if you really support us, like go to a pride rally. Like they don't, like people don't really say that.
No,
I mean, I'm sure there are some, but I mean, for the most part, that's
well,
not.
there's extremists and everything, I guess.
Yeah. So that's for the most part, that's not, um, what the messaging is. The messaging is like just like like acceptance and like support, like when you see it, like when you see like the bigotry and stuff like that.
Yeah, which I
And
do.
I mean, yeah. So like I said, and I think those are things that are very like the most like people are capable of doing. Um, even like the more like non-accepting people, just like don't um like just help me if you see someone attacking me,
Yeah,
which I mean, I think that's like very it's almost like instinct.
that's just basic humanity. If I'm not going to let somebody get the shit beat out of them in front of me, you know,
Yeah.
Be-
Yeah, so it's
I feel like if I'm let if I feel it almost feels like to me if I'm watching my neighbor across the street beat the hell out of somebody, and I don't do anything, I'm almost participating.
yeah, it feels that way, you know um
Yeah,
so I think that's why I think a lot of the I don't know if it's like the media or what, but presents it in a way that's very like sensationalized,
yeah,
and it makes people think that it's like, this big like life-changing like thing that you have to do, you know like being pro like gay rights or like trans rights isn't like a big like lifestyle change that everybody has to do. Like you could literally like, live in society and like see a gay couple walking down the street, and all they are asking for is to be like, "Hey, don't call us the F word when we walk by you."
Right.
You know, that's literally it. And I don't think that really takes much.
Right.
So um, I think it's very like the media helps, or the media portrays it in a way that people think like, oh, I have to do all this shit and all these rallies and blah blah. Like, no, it's more of like, hey, just accept me and like who I am, and I mean, I accept you for who you are. I'm just asking for the same in return. They're not asking for special privileges, special, rights, extra rights.
Right.
They're just asking for the same thing.
Just the same thing. So basically the message should be,
Mhm.
change. You don't have to change your fucking mind. Change your behavior, and eventually that it will change. Your mind will change. But stop being a bigot. Stop attacking people for their lifestyle, and just let it go. You know, you
Yeah,
can hate it all you want. You can sit in your house and fume. I don't give a shit. You can have a heart attack over it. Just don't attack people, and that's basically how I feel about it. But I don't hate them. I don't love them. I don't anything. It's just like they're just another fucking. They're. It's like I don't hate or love the cashier. It's just a cashier to me. It's just
yeah,
somebody doing their thing, and I'm doing my thing, and she's not hating on me, and I'm not hating on her, and I don't think I'll even remember her in 10 minutes. And I think that would be better if instead of attacking a trans person, just let it go. In 10 minutes from now, you'll forget that you even saw them.
yeah, exactly. So it's very, I don't, I mean, to me, it's very easy,
Yeah, to
but
me, it's easy.
it's not like it's not something big that people are asking for you to do.
Right.
If anything, I think the other issues are more demanding, you know, the economical issues. Like that
Yeah.
takes a lot more. Like,
Yeah.
hey, form a union at your job that hates unions. That's very like drastic.
That's drastic.
That's very, that takes a lot. That's, I think, to me, that's scarier and that's harder to do than, hey, just don't bug people or like just accept people.
Yeah. If they're
Um,
not if they're not bothering you, don't worry about it. Right?
yeah. I mean, most people don't bother you. So, like, don't worry about it.
Right. So, all right. So I'm glad I got to clear that. I got to talk that through. I think Thoroughly Wrong Project to me is like fucking therapy. I get to talk some of this shit through and get to sort it out because at the end of the day, now I feel like you're right. The media sensationalizes, picks it up, amplifies the wrong areas of it, and makes us all feel like it's this huge thing that we have to do. When all you really have to do is just tweak your thoughts a little bit and go, all right, change your behavior a little bit. Don't stare. Don't make a face. Don't do anything. Just if you see a gay couple, treat the gay couple just like you would see a young heterosexual couple holding hands. It's just people who love each other. Let them go.
Yeah,
They're not asking me to change my lifestyle. They're just asking me to be left alone. Okay, that's fine. I can do that.
exactly.
All right.
It's very simple to do, but for a lot of people, it's a very hard, like, thing to process.
Well, I think even drastic lifestyle changes are easy to do, Lalo. It's just a matter of changing your mind. And when you change your mind, you change your behavior. That's just the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Well, I think
everybody,
the act of it is easy to do, but getting to the point where you're acting on it,
yeah.
that's the harder part for people.
Yeah,
Like convincing yourself to, go on that diet, convincing yourself to wake up at 6 in the morning to work
yeah,
out. That's the hard part. Doing it, setting your alarm and like when your alarm goes off, getting up, that's easier
yeah.
than
I,
committing to it. So
I'm committed to. I'm committed to changing my life in the last 5 years in such a drastic way. And people were like, "How the hell do you do what you do?" And I always say, "It's to me, it's easy. I just change my mind." And I know that sounds trite, and it sounds like I'm blowing it off, but at the same time, I'm not. I'm not. It's a very complicated thing that happened. It had to do with my moral, ethical issues, my self-esteem, the way I viewed myself, the way I viewed my life, and how I wanted to reintegrate myself back into the culture as a different person. And those are hard things to do, to change your fucking mind. And I get that, but you're absolutely right. All I really did was make some decisions and follow through on them. That seems to be a simple thing. Like, I need some milk and I'm getting my shoes on to go into the store. I need to lose some weight. All right, I'm going to stop eating less. I'm going to start eating less. It's just those, some decisions are hard because they're intertwined into our psychology, and other things are just mechanical, like I'm out of milk. So if you can just treat your addictions and your habits and all those things, if you treat that as mechanical, that makes that life a lot easier. It makes it changing your mind a lot easier.
yeah.
What are you going to do this week?
Shit, I have a bunch of homework. I always put it off to like the last day. So I have a bunch of stuff due today.
It's all good, man.
Um, but this week, nothing much. I mean, it's almost like the end of the semester, so I'm kind of just
Yeah.
making sure everything's like in line and I'm not like forgetting some like big assignment.
And here
So
comes Christmas, so everything's going to
I'm
be.
not worried about Christmas. To me, that's like, I could deal with that like last minute, like easily.
Oh my God. Do you know how important Christmas is to me, Lalo? You're really hurting my feelings.
I mean, I don't care like in the sense that like, oh, I gotta like shop early and like do all this stuff. Like, I'll just get it over with in like one day, and I'll
Yeah, I
hate
do
that day
too.
because
I don't even go shopping, dude. I just sit down and start scrolling through, Amazon or whatever,
yeah,
and it'll all be
yeah.
here on time, and I don't have fucking shit to worry about. That's the way it works.
Thank you,
Utilize
Jeff
Amazon.
Bezos.
Feed Jeff Bezos. He needs a bigger yacht. All right, man. Well, I don't have much going on this week. Just changing my life, making things better for other
Yeah,
people.
that
That's
sounds
all I
like a
got.
lot. If you ask me.
Yeah. So this has been Bob.
And Lalo.
Yeah, and this is a thoroughly wrong project. And sometimes we touch on things that could be, I could be wrong. Lalo could be wrong, but it's good therapy, right?
Yeah,
Have a good week, brother.
you too, man.
Later.
Later.
You have been listening to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your hosts, Francisco and Robert. If you enjoyed today's show, like, follow, leave a comment, and then look in the description where you'll find our website, Instagram, and Twitter feeds. Until next time, thanks for listening. And just remember, never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.